These days we take for granted that we can buy almost anything we want, anytime we want it.
But as our trading relationships face their biggest changes in decades, how much do we really know about the science and systems
Come on this far.
that enable Britain to import and export goods around the world on an unprecedented scale?
Oh my God, they're so big, whoa!
We're here to find out
How what we produce here
Ends up on the other side of the world.
Whenever you go to Spain, it's our prawns you're eating. You just don't know it.
And the innovative ways Britain is trading with the rest of the world.
It comes in full of bananas and then goes out with a mini. Amazing.
I'm Ed Balls.
Straighten her up. Left hand down, left hand down, left hand down, left hand down.
And this week I'm in one of Britain's biggest ports to find out how your fruit and veg
Bagged, labelled, could be in the supermarket tomorrow.
gets from foreign fields to your fridge quicker than ever before.
Whoa!
I'm Cherry Healy,
That's so clever!
and I'll be in Britain with our biggest produce exporters
This is a massive operation.
to reveal the surprising places that rely on us for their fruit and veg.
You send potatoes to Ireland.
Absolutely.
I'm so shocked.
And I'm Adia Depitan.
Hola.
And I'll be travelling the globe to see the impact Britain's demanding tastes
I didn't realise we were so passionate about grapes.
are having on farmers all over the world.
You completely changed the economy here. It's like the gold rush for avocados.
We are a trading nation. We always will be.
And at this crucial time in our history, this is the incredible story of what Britain buys and sells in a day.
We rely on the rest of the world to keep us fed like never before. We import most of the fruit we eat and about half of the vegetables. And that's only possible thanks to the massive container ports dotted around the coast of Britain, including here at DP World London Gateway.
One of the world's most modern and technologically sophisticated ports right here on the Thames estuary. It's the place where so much of the fruit and vegetables we buy and eat every day arrive in container ships from all over the world.
Having worked in the Treasury, I know that ports like this are our link to the rest of the world. And as Brexit means how we trade with other countries is being scrutinised like never before, I want to understand just how our favourite fruit and veg is bought and sold. So today I'm exploring every inch of this port to find out. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and already on average £5.5 million worth of fruit and veg have arrived in Britain, but only £420,000 worth has been exported. That huge imbalance is at the heart of this story. We simply can't grow all the fruit and veg we want to eat, which is why we turn to others to grow and ship it across the world. London Gateway is one of the UK's newest ports, costing £1.5 billion to build. It can accommodate the world's largest ships, like the Eber Maersk, which is just arriving from Antwerp and capable of carrying more than 17,000 containers.
This is our last headline going on now. This is the 6th one. Think of the weight that that can take. Exactly. And you can't start any of the unloading of the containers until all these lines are secured. That's correct.
As the offload begins, I've been given rare access to the main cargo deck with the ship's second officer, Abraham, to see how they keep thousands of kilograms of produce fresh on a journey around the globe.
It is just the most incredible thing. The scale of this operation. I mean, what a massive thing this is.
When these containers go off There are still containers under the hold.
Under here?
Yes.
How many containers down is it going?
They can load about 8 or 9 high under deck.
So there's as many below this deck as there are above it?
Exactly, yes.
There's a simple innovation at the heart of the world's fruit and veg trade, a special type of refrigerated container known as a reefer. These temperature-controlled boxes are the secret behind how we can enjoy practically any fruit from any country, any time we want.
Over here, we have a few reefers here, right? As soon as it's loaded, it's actually connected to the power.
So the vegetables which we buy in our supermarkets arrive on ships like this, in containers like this, plugged in, refrigerated, and fresh pretty much as the day it came out of the ground or off the tree.
Yes, exactly.
Almost 3 million of these ingenious boxes are continually circumnavigating the globe, and a large proportion of the ones that reach the UK shores come through London Gateway.
I can remember when you go to the supermarket and there would be kind of ripe apples, mouldy ones.
Yes.
These days, when you go in, they all look perfect. The reason is these refrigerated containers, it's like an unknown revolution.
Yes, exactly. You get it in the supermarkets completely fresh, as if it was grown right outside the farm.
Massive ships like this with thousands of refrigerated containers can bring from all over the world the fruit and vegetables we all want to buy. But a change in what we want, our tastes, our preferences, can have an enormous radical impact on the lives of people in communities all around the world.
One of the best examples of this is the avocado. In the last 5 years, it's become one of the most popular fruits in the UK. Demand's at an all-time high. Ade has travelled over 6,000 miles to the hills of South America to see the impact of our avocado obsession.
I'm just south of Trujillo, home to some of the largest avocado farms in Peru. Almost everything that's grown here ends up overseas, and Britain is an important market. But when this site was set up by Simon Gonzalez's father 21 years ago, the region was a far cry from how it is today.
Simon, this is an absolutely spectacular view. Slightly odd, though, because I'm seeing dunes mixed in with green.
There used to be only dunes and rocks, mountains.
How has it impacted this area?
What you see green and the impact you see on the geography, same thing happened with the locals. Nowadays there are nurseries for kids, schools, medicine, hospitals. For years we had negative unemployment.
So you completely changed the economy here.
Back in those years there were maybe 1,000 families or so. Today we have 45,000 families just around this agricultural area.
It's like the gold rush that they had in America,
exactly.
but for avocados.
The green rush.
Yes.
Exactly.
And Britain's very much at the heart of this. We buy more than 3 times as much avocado as we did just 5 years ago. Thanks to a growing interest in healthy eating and an A-list following, they've become the biggest food trend of the decade.
Hola.
¿Cómo está?
Bien, bien. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Melquiades.
Melquiades. Me llamo Adi. Encantado.
But as much as our demands have increased, we simply can't grow avocados in the UK climate. And that's led to new opportunities for people like Melquiades.
¿Puedo me enseñar cómo cosechar? ¿Aquí o abajo?
Arribita pues de
¿Arriba?
Sí, y lo corta más al pie.
Primero y luego así.
Sí.
¿Bien?
Sí.
What was once a desert is now home to a multi-million-pound industry. With up to 17,000 people employed on this single farm, helping to satisfy our avocado appetite.
Si tú haces los de alto, yo de bajo, ¿sí?
Claro.
Como un equipo.
Listo.
Realistically, he's going to do the high ones and he's going to do the low ones, and I'm just going to chat. That's teamwork. Oh, he's going at pace. Tú vas muy rápido. Tranquilo, chico, tranquilo.
More than 1 million avocado trees now cover this vast landscape, and up to 6.5 million fruits are plucked a day.
Hello, Francesca.
Hi, honey.
Lovely to meet you.
Really nice.
Francesca has been overseeing production here for 12 years.
I cannot believe that this used to be a desert. How on earth did you manage to transform it into an avocado paradise?
Well, first thing is the water. 20 years ago, thanks to an irrigation project, this could become a reality.
Avocados are a particularly thirsty fruit, needing around 600 litres of water to produce just 1 kilo. This has caused controversy in some South American countries like Chile, with rivers being diverted away from villages, causing water shortages. But plantations like this in Peru are using government-funded irrigation systems to develop previously uninhabited areas. And while every plantation has an environmental impact, Trujillo is trying to minimize it through their crop protection. Rather than using pesticides, which risk contaminating water and soil, they're using wasps.
Is this how you usually treat guests? Hand them a load of wasps?
No.
They're so tiny.
So tiny.
And what do these wasps do?
Basically, these wasps eat the bad guys.
They're eating me. I'm not a bad guy.
They eat the bad insects, the insects that do harm to the trees. So basically, they control the pests biologically.
So these are like a natural pesticide?
Exactly.
Cultivating avocados is a painstaking process. Once planted, each tree takes at least 3 years to start bearing fruit.
What type of avocados are these?
These are Hass
I know
avocados.
nothing about avocados, so you say Hass, it can mean anything to me.
Hass avocados, it's really creamy. No, if you taste it, it's like almost butter. And they have a very thick skin, so the skin protects them very well when they travel.
And is that the type of avocado that we would have in the UK?
Yes.
The avocados I see in the shops are definitely a lot darker than this.
Avocados start to ripen when you cut them. It starts to ripen until it gets all brown, and then it's ready to eat.
Avocados harvested here are then sent to the packing house ahead of the 3 weeks at sea they take to reach us.
Where are all these avocados going to?
Well, Tesco to M&S, to Sainsbury's, to Waitrose, you name it.
Everyone wants avocados.
Everybody wants avocados. It's so amazing.
Many of the avocados we eat in Britain have come from Peru, but we also currently import them from the US, South Africa, and Israel.
It's just after 10 in the morning. And on average, Britain has today already imported more than 770,000 avocados.
Most of the imports from the Southern Hemisphere come through London Gateway. And like everything that arrives here, the pressure's on to get it off the ship as soon as possible.
And to do that, they need these, some of the world's largest key cranes.
The giant structures reach out over the dock ships so they can begin offloading the cargo.
Lane 2, yeah?
Containers full of avocados and other goods need to be offloaded from the ships to dozens of waiting trucks by drivers like Emily, who's just beginning a 12-hour shift. And I'm going to join her 16 stories up in the air to see how it's done.
Goodness.
Woo! It's a bit of a squeeze.
It's not the squeeze I was worrying about. It's the fact that it's a long way down.
Standing almost 140 metres high, these are some of the tallest cranes in the world, giving the Blackpool Tower a run for its money. In fact, they're so big, they were shipped in from China fully assembled and then wheeled into position on a giant train track structure.
Right, Leon, we are ready. What lane?
Grab lane 2, I believe.
Right, you ready? It's quite jolty. Hope you don't get travel sick.
Emily needs to quickly offload the containers, ready for them to be whizzed into giant stacks to await collection.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fine.
This steering and adjustment to get exactly in the right place, you're doing that by sight?
Yeah. This ship's been moving around quite a bit, so
every time I come back, they're not really in the right place.
10:30, line 4 for 30.
Oh, like that.
What's happening there?
It's overloaded. It's too heavy.
So at the moment, the crane won't let you move.
No, I'm just going to put them down again.
A single box can weigh more than 30 tons, but the crane lifts it by connecting just 4 twist locks, each a little over 5 centimetres in diameter. The margins are so fine, it takes years of experience to be able to lift and move this many, this fast.
Did you get it?
Yep.
So that's good.
I was obviously just having a moment last time.
I've never really thought of a crane having a moment before.
Oh, they have moments all the time.
Do they?
Emily has only been on shift for a little over an hour, but already she's offloaded around 1,000 tons worth of cargo from all over the world.
Because of our climate, to enjoy such a wide variety, we import fruit and veg from more than 100 different countries.
Everything from Senegalese sweet corn to Korean mushrooms, Iranian dates to Mexican asparagus. There's an art to maintaining Britain's fruit and veg supply.
Global weather, harvests, trade tariffs, consumer demand, all affect what we need to buy and where from.
Cherry is an eaveship to visit a team working frantically to do the deals that keep us fed.
Sweet potatoes.
Red cabbage.
1.1 pallets.
Yeah, they're fresh in today.
We're just trying to determine if we need to buy from Holland or Belgium to cover orders, that's all really.
This is the nationwide Vital Group Trading Centre. If British weather means our farmers can't grow a certain fruit or veg, these are the people that have to find a foreign farmer who can.
Believe in Shandong, China.
What's happening in Kenya?
I reckon in 5 days' time, it's nothing.
Traders like Scott are placing orders for thousands of tons of produce to be imported from all over the world.
We've got a supplier. Failure's not an option.
Hi.
Hi.
Can I interrupt you? I know
You
you're
can.
really busy.
No, it's fine, no problem at all.
The atmosphere in here is very intense. It's almost like a stock market trading floor.
Slightly, perhaps potentially more volatile.
That shipment of peeled garlic.
60 on a pallet.
In fruit and veg sales, weather is everything. It influences both supply and demand.
So, sun's out currently today, and it's given a sort of a good weekend. So we will, without any steer from our customers, we will automatically increase the amount of salad lines we buy.
Really?
Just to counteract that.
Because when the sun's out, everyone eats salad.
Yeah.
Well, it's 45 degrees in Poland yesterday.
It's not just as simple as anticipating demand. This team also has to anticipate supply, and the unpredictable British weather makes it difficult to know exactly what will be coming out of local farms at any given time.
How did last year's weather affect the produce now?
So it was an almost perfect storm of worst growing weather possible last year. So we started with the beach from the east, which meant we had quite a cold spring. So straight away we were planting root crops a month or so late. Once we got past that, we had extreme temperatures where crops like onion potatoes, once it gets to a certain temperature, they just shut down and they just don't grow.
So it was very, very cold and then very, very hot.
Very hot, which meant that the volume available for this next season was just massively diminished.
So what happens then if you know that there's going to be a shortage? How do you fill the gap?
We look at what we think we're going to need, and we'll go around the world to try and find it somewhere else.
So hopefully the market will get a bit better this weekend.
With the world at their fingertips, the traders here aren't just on the hunt for new suppliers. They're also looking for the best possible deals.
So who are you calling now?
This is Andrew in France, who's an English guy but lived in France for 25 years, who we buy our specialty potatoes from. Andrew, it's Scott. What are the prices for raté and fleur de bleu today, please?
Yeah, you're looking at £1.85 a kilo.
Yeah.
And fleur bleu, £1.45 a kilo delivered.
145.
Can you give him a better price? Think you can lower that price? Go on. Go on. I'm just his little helper.
No.
No, go on, go on.
Not this time of the year.
He's such a nice bloke, though. He's such a nice bloke.
Yeah, yeah, but not this time of the year.
Is that a definite no?
That's a definite no. Yeah, I mean, the weather's really hot over here.
It's not often that I say this, but I really wish rain upon you soon.
Yeah, well, it would be helpful, I must admit, yeah.
I bet.
Not too much, but just a bit in the evening.
Oh, God.
In the night.
It's so stressful. Not too much, but some. Oh, my goodness.
The weather abroad has a real impact on the price and availability of fresh produce. And it's playing the global stock market of the fruit and veg world that ensures Britain stays fed. At the other end of the supply chain, British farmers too are at the mercy of the weather. They're constantly finding clever ways to sell their crops when the weather affects what they grow. James Simpson has been producing apples for major UK retailers for decades.
Look at these, they're amazing. That one is a whopper. Look at it.
Actually, that one's over 95 millimetres
Wow.
in diameter.
But frostier winters and warmer summers mean his harvest is yielding larger apples than ever before, and British customers are picky.
I've never seen an apple that big in my local supermarket.
No, well, the trend now is for smaller apples. So there we are, it's a 70 millimetre apple. In the UK at the moment, I'd say that 90% of what we sell is in that size, and that is not popular.
Why do we not like these? That's great.
I think part of it is a convenience. The majority of consumers want to snack on the go. Something that size is difficult to do that with.
So because we like to grab our apples and eat them on the go, that one is less convenient.
The weather means that up to 40% of some varieties James grows won't be suitable for British supermarkets. The simple solution is to send them for juicing and make less money. But this clever exporter has a better plan.
What's going on here?
Well, this is the solution to the problem. We're packing these apples for the Middle East.
You're sending these to the Middle East?
Yeah, and it turns out that their preference is for a large red apple that's sweet in flavour, and that's what we're supplying.
By knowing the taste of other countries, James is able to get the best price for every harvest. These boxes will end up as far away as Qatar, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, where they attract premium prices.
I would never have thought in a million years that the answer to the problem would be the Middle East.
No, it's a bit of a surprise to us, but there's a strong demand for British produce in the Middle East.
What is it about the Britishness that's appealing?
We have a history and a reputation for being great farmers and great producers. And I think apples are one of the things we do exceptionally well, and that's known around the world.
Do you really make use of the fact that they love that Britishness?
Oh, absolutely. Every apple gets a label on it that makes it clear that it's a great British apple. And then we pack them into boxes that are Union Jack printed with a skyline of London.
Short of having the national anthem playing out of the box, you've really gone for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else we could have done, yeah.
You can have the Queen delivering them.
Yeah.
It's 2:15, and while on average more than 240,000 apples have left our shores today, over 4 million have now come into the UK. Roughly half of all imported apples come from outside the EU, and 60% of those come through London Gateway.
It's curious to think that while we export many of the apples we grow all around the world, we also have to import 2.7 billion apples a year to keep up with our rather particular tastes.
I'm meeting Tim O'Malley, Managing Director of nationwide Vital Group, who's been importing fruit and veg into Britain for 37 years and knows better than most what drives our decisions when we're buying our food.
As a country, are we very choosy? Do we want to be able to choose anything from anywhere in the world?
We have a bit of a reputation for buying with our eyes, so maybe the French should maybe buy more on taste, etc. But we like things that look aesthetically pleasing, and therefore it comes from all over the world.
I think we like buying things from around the world, but we also think that we ought to be looking after the environment. Is there a tension between those two things?
One of the big raging debates at the moment is food waste and plastic. I mean, if I take one example on a cucumber, that thin slither of cling film keeps it fresher for 14 days longer. Now, I know people are going on about plastics, and I agree with it along with everybody else, but we've also got an issue with food waste, and we've got to get something that can keep it as well as plastic.
The environmental impact and the look of our fruit and veg aren't the only things affecting what we buy. What we like to eat is changing all the time, and importers like Tim are constantly on their toes trying to predict demand.
food trends can really affect this industry. A classic one for me was spaghetti courgette. So, you know, spiral courgette.
And when you turn it and they come out weird.
So one of the fastest selling Christmas gifts in 2016 was a spaghetti courgette machine. And then in January 2017, we had these horrendous floods in southern Spain, which led to a shortage of fresh produce. But it all started with an innocuous tweet from an outraged Waitrose shop, showing shelves at Waitrose bereft of courgettes, and saying, "Now, I can't use my spaghetti courgette machine," which led to an actual headline which says, "UK courgette crisis." Yeah, because courgettes are normally £4 to £6 a box, and they were selling at 20 to 25 during that crisis. Vegan January. That was a big trend this year, and we definitely saw an increase in our sales of vegetables in January. This whole vegetarian move, vegan move, is great for our industry.
Vegan January, vegan February.
Vegan every month of the year, if you ask me.
Tim relies on ports like this to get his produce off the ships and onto the back of a truck as fast as possible. It's just before 3 p.m, and London Gateway is a hive of activity, with containers heading on and off waiting ships and trucks passing in and out of port. And they've got a high-tech advantage over other ports. 60 massive automated cranes that can move a container from the quayside onto a waiting truck at high speed. Ready for drivers like Cliff to whisk them off to the supermarket depots.
We're now coming into the business end of the port. This is where all the cranes are, this is where it all happens.
I've hitched a ride to see how he can drop off and pick up a reefer container full of perishable fruit and veg in just 35 minutes.
Here we go, we're just going into the slot now. We're going to go into slot D.
Right.
Do you fancy having a go?
I would love to have a go.
Fantastic.
There are more than 80,000 lorry journeys every single day in Britain just to ensure our food gets to the right place at the right time. And manoeuvring these monsters takes some skill.
Right, into reverse. What you ideally want to see is your yellow lines in both mirrors. Right, left hand down. Straighten her up. Left hand down, left hand down. Keep coming round. No. No. We want to start again. So right hand down. That's it. Right, left hand down. Oh, you're going to hit the wall. You're going to hit the curb. There we go. Now, as soon as your back wheel hits that yellow line, swing it round. That's it. Stop.
Done it.
As soon as the truck is parked, the overhead cranes spring to life. London Gateway can store up to 1,800 temperature-controlled reefer containers in its stacks, and each crane knows exactly which box is heading where.
All the cranes are run on computers, using cameras to line up the crane to the box. It's now up there, slight little movements, little twitches.
This is not a human being. This is
all
the cameras and the computers exactly choosing.
Exactly, yeah. That's it. It'll go off now.
Look at that. Think of the weight of that.
Well, there's 30 tonne in there, going off for export. Could go anywhere in the world.
With the container offloaded, the cranes immediately line up the incoming reefer. Unlike manually operated cranes, these ones can run at higher speeds, and even in winds of up to 55 miles an hour.
There we go. Lovely.
Straight on.
Straight on. Set, there we go. All good to go. Fine. Let's try it.
It's taken just half an hour for the lorry to get in and out of port, and this process makes me realise just how vital speed and technology are to keeping Britain fed.
Supermarket distribution centre, here we come.
Nearly all the fruit and veg we eat will have spent some time in the back of a lorry. In fact, 1 in every 5 trucks on British roads is carrying food, most of it destined for supermarkets and restaurants in Britain and across Europe, all of which explains why Brexit means there's so much talk at the moment about the importance of smooth border crossings. Thousands of trucks laden with food flow through Dover Port every day, for example. And it's been estimated that if new post-Brexit customs or quality checks add an additional delay of just 2 minutes per truck, then that could cause up to 5 hours worth of traffic delays in Kent, potentially impacting Britain's fruit and veg supply and pushing up prices.
There are some products that we can't grow because of our weather, but others we simply choose not to grow in great scale because it's cheaper to get other countries to do it for us.
Take tomatoes. They're one of our most popular produce items, and at the moment we import more than 80% of all our tomatoes from Europe. And for one of our closest neighbours, Britain's taste for tomatoes is worth hundreds of millions of euros.
The Netherlands, famous for its bikes and its canals, has mastered fruit and vegetable supply like nowhere else on Earth.
Just a stone's throw from Rotterdam is Westland. This 11,000-acre glass metropolis produces almost 400,000 tonnes of tomatoes every year. Thanks to massive greenhouses like this, around 45% of all the tomatoes we import come from the Netherlands.
It's blinding. Light is so bright. Wow. I've never seen so many tomatoes in my life. It just goes on forever. I can't even see the other end.
This greenhouse is run by Lands Tomatoes, who supply supermarkets across Britain.
Hey, how you
Hello.
doing? Stop!
Hi, Wilco.
Wilco Visser is showing me around.
Nice wheels, my friend.
Thank you, thank you.
This place is incredible. I've not seen a greenhouse this size before.
It's 9.5 hectare, so about 9.5 football fields, and all the same variety, cocktail tomatoes.
Cocktail tomatoes.
Yes.
Tomatoes. You say tomato, I say tomato.
Unlike traditional farming outdoors, here in Westland, exactly how these tomatoes are grown can be carefully managed.
We can control the temperature, the climate, the water. We can control almost everything.
This is basically a tomato paradise.
Yes, it is a tomato paradise.
The Netherlands has a similar climate to Britain, but inside this greenhouse, they can control Mother Nature and produce more than 5 million kilos of tomatoes a year. But it's not cheap. Westland costs tens of millions of euros to construct, and this is the scale of operation Britain would need if we ever hope to become self-sufficient tomato growers. And what about the environmental costs? Growing under glass means no rain, so water has to be pumped around the entire crop.
Every plant has its own water dripper, and all the water what we give too much, when you would grow in open field, then the water will go away. But we put into the gutters on the side, we clean it with a UV filter, and it goes into the glass house.
So unlike growing outdoors, this means water is constantly being recycled, so less is used overall.
In this glass house, we need about 12 to 15 liters of water for a kilo of tomatoes. When I would do that outside, it would be, for the same kilo of tomatoes, about 60 to 80 liters.
Wow, it's so much more efficient.
They grow more tomatoes in the Netherlands per square mile than anywhere else on the planet. But it's not just tomatoes we rely on them for. 21% of our vegetable import spend goes to the Netherlands. Valstar is one of the companies that moves that produce to the UK, and Henny is showing me the latest shipments.
You know, I've just spotted out of the corner of my eye UK salads.
UK salads, yeah.
It's kind of weird actually being here in Westland and seeing places so familiar like Dagenham. You can see here you've got this one labelled Bista. How long would it take for a pallet like this to get from here to the end user in Bista?
In generally is harvested this morning and going by boat today, and then they will arrive there tomorrow morning.
So someone at home now who's eaten their tomatoes, pretty much 24 hours prior to that, those tomatoes were in Westland.
And were harvested in the greenhouse, yeah.
Incredible.
Being less than 150 miles across the sea from us means it can take as little as 6 hours for goods from Westland to reach the UK by boat, arriving fresh every time. But a lot of perishable fruit and veg needs to spend far longer at sea to get to us. Sweet potatoes from the US will take around 10 days, pineapples from Costa Rica take 20 days, and kiwi fruit from Chile can take up to 4 weeks to reach us.
I've seen how our produce is transported in revolutionary reefer containers. But what other tricks do the experts use to make sure our fruit and veg stays fresh on their global journeys?
To find out, I'm at Halo, a 110,000 square foot ripening and packing facility. uniquely situated on-site at London Gateway. Operations Director Wayne is in charge of getting recent imports out of containers and onto supermarket shelves, including a shipment of apples which has just come in.
These look like apples to me.
Correct, these are Pink Lady apples from South Africa.
How long will they have been in the container from the farm before they come here?
About 3 weeks. It's a fruit that once it's grown, you've got to get it off the tree. They would have been harvested sooner and then stored in DCA stores in South Africa before shipped to the UK.
When you say DCA, what does that mean?
Dynamic controlled atmosphere. What that means is theoretically putting the apple to sleep using gases, so basically taking down the oxygen to about 1%.
So the oxygen will make the apple ripen, sweeten, slightly shrivel in the skin, none of which you want.
No,
so you take the oxygen out, and that almost makes them like dormant.
Everyone wants a bit of a crunchy apple, right? They don't want these apples that are a bit soft.
When I was little, we had a farm next door to where we lived. They would harvest the apples in the autumn, store them individually in this big attic, eat them all year, but they would become sweeter and smaller and more wrinkled in January, March, and that was normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've now got used to the idea that apples should always
be a perfect condition when it's on the shelf.
And apples aren't the only fruit where science is helping to prolong their shelf life.
It's lemons from South Africa here. Their post-harvest treatment is wax.
And what is the wax stopping happening?
On a citrus fruit, any sort of breakdown on the skin will develop inside. So the wax is preventing that. Another one that springs to mind can be melons. So some melons can be chlorine dipped, particularly stuff like cantaloupe melon, where they start to form mould on their outer skin. So that treats them, so they're ready then for transportation.
So it's a sweet melon where you have to put a salty solution outside to keep them fresh?
Yeah.
The clever ways that this produce can be preserved alongside the reefer containers they travel in is the reason why our 21st century dinner plates look the way they do. And it means we can bring in fresh produce from the farthest reaches of the globe.
But Britain's customers have always been much closer to home. Last year, around 3/4 of our fruit and veg exports went to Europe. One of the vegetables that we've grown in Britain for centuries is potatoes. And these days, spuds make up around 1/4 of our vegetable exports to the EU by value. And we send them to some surprising places.
Hi, Christopher.
Hi, Sherry. Welcome to Leeds Packers.
I'm in Cambridgeshire to meet Christopher Lee, a third-generation potato grower whose family produced these vegetables on an extraordinary scale.
Looking around, this is a massive operation. There's potato crates as far as I can see.
So basically, we're growing 35 to 45,000 tonnes of these potatoes, and we're looking to sell 1/4 to 1/3 of these to Ireland.
You send potatoes to Ireland. This is really naive, but I thought the Irish were famous for their potatoes.
They are.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah. So these guys are going to be rumbled, peeled, chipped up, and going to all your classic chippies.
Why specifically these potatoes?
So these are marquees. So this is one of our main varieties. These guys can produce the perfect quality white fried chips.
More than half of Ireland's potato imports come from the UK, so it's important to make sure they meet exacting standards.
Ooh, lovely. What are you looking for?
Basically, they need to be a lovely white fry, as in beautifully white, not really much brown on them. So the chippy expects a white chip.
Oh, very hot. That is a gorgeous chip. You see, you'd call that white. I see pale yellow. But you refer to that as a white chip.
Absolutely, white fry.
The revered marquee potato certainly offers the classic chippy taste and look we know and love.
Off they go.
Off they go.
Woo.
But selecting the right variety doesn't guarantee a superb spud. The way a potato is grown can also have a huge impact on the all-important colour.
So this sample here clearly was under an element of stress.
Potatoes can get stressed.
Absolutely.
How do they get stressed?
Stressed in the field from the water, from the nutrients, from the weather. So last year, the growing season, we were in drought, we had heat waves, and so the potatoes clearly were a bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. This caused sugars to be developed into the potatoes, and that's what you can see on the end of the chips.
But produce a stress-free potato, and the rewards can be huge when they're exported to Ireland.
Top quality could be in excess of £500 a tonne.
Wow, that's huge.
And the more medium and even poorer than this, in between the two, could be down as low as £150 to £200 a tonne.
That is a massive, massive loss.
The chip shop chip is one of the hardest potatoes to grow, to get the quality and just not stress the potato.
But what is it about this particular part of Britain that means we can produce the quality that Ireland expects? Well, it turns out that our soil and climate hold the answer.
Basically, we've got the black fen soils, PT, high rich, high nutrient content soils. Then on top of that, we don't have high amounts of rainfall. We have sometimes just enough, but normally we're a little bit short.
I would have thought that not having enough rain was a problem.
So sometimes if you have excessive amounts of rain, the actual seedling potatoes will rot in the ground and you could lose your entire crop. We're able to irrigate the potatoes in a controlled manner. Ireland get lots of rainfall, so that is the difference between us and Ireland.
So it's actually good not to have enough rain,
Yes, it is.
because then you can control how much water they get.
A 65-acre reservoir allows the winter rainfall to be collected for use throughout the year.
There they are. And those are the tats.
There they are.
Those are the tatties. Oh,
Just
look.
tease these out here.
There we go. So it's a very, very baby potato plant.
Absolutely.
During the growing season from March to September, Christopher has to regularly inspect the whole potato crop to monitor the moisture level. Get it wrong, and his export value could drop.
So it's all about the squeeze test, basically. You've got to get it in the bottom of the ridge, give it a good squeeze, and does it hold together? That's the question.
A little bit.
So we've probably got enough moisture in the ridge here for about a week. So next week, we need to get some water in this crop.
So you know exactly how much water to add just by looking at that, giving it a good squeeze.
Absolutely. It's a magical squeeze. So on average, we'll be doing 6 applications of an inch of water. And then on dry seasons, it could be even up to 10.
How delicate is it? If you get 1 inch out, will it affect the potato?
It can stress. Little and often of everything, really, is the key.
You don't want to be stressing your baby potatoes.
Definitely not.
This is mean.
It's not only tens of thousands of tons of potatoes that we export around the world each year. Scotland is renowned for growing seed potatoes, which can be replanted to produce many more. In fact, Scottish seed potatoes are exported far and wide, everywhere from Spain and Morocco to Egypt and Israel. And in some cases, these countries go on to export the spuds they grow from those seed potatoes back to us. A bizarre example of just how interdependent our produce trade has become. It's approaching 7 p.m. and at the ripening and packing centre on site at London Gateway, the supermarket trucks are waiting in the loading bays for this evening's deliveries. But what happens to produce before it's ready to be sent out?
These are South African grapes.
South African?
Yep. What we're doing at the moment, we're just sorting, so there's a bit of remedial work required. So they've come from the source. They're not 100% perfect in terms of quality. And what we're doing here is we're making sure they meet the customer specification.
What do you do with the ones which are no good? Do you chuck them or do they...
We pick them off and they go to animal feed. So the local farmer takes all the fruit waste and feeds it to his animals.
So there's local pigs eating grapes?
Yeah, cattle.
In Essex?
In Essex.
If you're going to be a pig, live in Essex.
Indeed, indeed.
Is that how it came out of the container?
That's how it came out of the container. So
that's the first time somebody's touched it since South Africa?
Yeah. And as you can see, they come with protection. So this here is a sulphur pad. That's holding that quality of that fruit.
These special sheets release small amounts of sulfur dioxide, which maintain the grape's freshness and colour and prevent fungus growth.
Without that, the fruit would deteriorate in its quality before it got here. Okay. It would probably wouldn't be fit to use without using that pad.
Is that the labelling going on?
Yeah, that's the lid on the pack.
Yeah. That is what I pick up at the supermarket.
Correct. That's what you're collecting on the supermarket shelf.
The interesting thing is that you imagine this is like some big long process, but the container box off, and then within what is it, like a couple of minutes? That is ready to sell.
Absolutely.
Are they supposed to be one way round?
Absolutely. Yeah. Presentation.
I'll be in trouble. I mess it up for you.
Grapes are one of Britain's best-selling fruits, and most grapes we buy in our supermarkets come from overseas.
Biggest import countries are Chile, South Africa, Brazil. We're just moving into the Spanish season shortly. So we move from southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, probably for sort of mid-July time.
Right. When I think through my lifetime eating grapes, there's been times when they were more green, more red, pips, no pips, thick skin, thin skin. I mean, there's a huge range.
There is 8,000 varieties of grape. 8,000. But there is probably about 10 varieties that you see more often, which are the ones that
the UK economy's become accustomed to.
How about pips?
Everything that we pack here currently is seedless.
Are we the British? Are we different when it comes to seeds?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see that even if you just go on holiday. You go to a shop there and they've always got these big grapes, big juicy ones with the seeds inside.
Nowadays, if the British people want seedless grapes,
I'll get seedless
you
grapes.
can source them.
Yeah, absolutely.
DP World London Gateway is one of the main ports bringing grapes into the UK. It's now 7:45, and more than £500,000 worth of grapes have arrived here today. Being such a big importer of grapes allows us to dictate our growing preferences all over the world. We don't just demand seedless grapes, we're picky when it comes to taste and even size. One of our key grape suppliers is Spain, and Ade's in Murcia, near the southeastern coast, to find out how producers like expat Rupert Maud are growing specifically for our demanding palates.
Rupert, this is beautiful. I mean, it's not often you get to see grapes in this sort of environment.
As a region, Murcia is the largest grape-growing region in Spain. Last year, the volume was around 140,000 tonnes.
And how much of these grapes would go to the UK?
Nearly 50%. The UK is a very important market for Spain.
I didn't realise we were so passionate about grapes in the UK.
Oh, yeah, grape is a staple.
Recently, there's been a surge in British grape consumption, and more than 80% of households buy them. But we're quite specific about what we like.
What are the types that we like in the UK?
The British market for us is about an 18 to 22 mil sweet, crunchy grape.
That's good. I get the crunchy thing that you're talking about. That's really nice.
In the UK, we expect perfect grapes in our fruit bowls. The grapes we eat have been carefully bred and ripened to appeal to our sweet tooth. And since half of everything he grows will end up in British supermarkets, Rupert has to be producing sweet grapes if he wants to make any money. To do this, they make a cut around the trunk of the vine. This means that sugar created by the leaves can't travel back down to the root and ends up in the fruit instead, creating the sweet grapes we love.
What is the system that you use to create these grapes?
Basically, you've got these steel posts with cables, and so this makes like a lattice work on top.
So you create a ceiling of grapes?
Yes. The canopy, which is formed by the leaves, is leopard print.
Because of the light coming through between the leaves and the vines?
Yes. So on some varieties, you want more light coming through, and some varieties you want less. If you are growing a red variety, we can take the leaves out to get more light in, so they can get its natural colour. A white one, you might keep a canopy longer to stop sunburn.
And how they look is absolutely key.
Necesito más bolsas.
On the production line, packers scrutinise each bunch to see what makes the grade for British customers.
¿No está bien?
No, no está bien. Amarilla.
Ah, y entonces no vas a utilizar este.
Sí, otro me va a dar. Sí.
From this farm, only the greenest of the green are destined for our supermarket shelves.
Currently, around 16% of the grapes we eat come from Spain, and they're one of more than 20 countries across 5 continents that export grapes to the UK. But it turns out grapes are at the heart of a British export success story. While we may not be growing many table grapes for eating, cherries in Hampshire to see how, even so, British grapes are quickly becoming world famous.
Emma, it's quite surreal being in the middle of England, standing surrounded by vines. It feels like we should be in Tuscany. Are these similar to table grapes?
No, they're completely different. They're not sweet in the way that a table grape would be sweet.
Right.
So they have a relatively high acidity and a relatively low sugar level, which is perfect for making really high quality sparkling wine.
How can you grow grapes in a climate that is not known for being really sunny?
So it's the combination of the soil, it's a combination of the slopes. You see we're walking down quite a gentle south-facing slope. That allows the vines to get maximum exposure to the sun without one shading the other.
We used to be limited in what we could produce, But a gradual rise in temperature has slowly made the south of England more suitable for a wider range of grapes. And savvy winemakers like Emma have harnessed this new opportunity. In the last few years, the number of vines planted has more than doubled.
What is it about this soil that they really love?
Maybe 20, 30 centimetres under our feet, we're hitting solid chalk bedrock. And the vines absolutely love that because it acts as a huge sponge. Any rain that falls, that gets sucked into the chalk, and then the vines can just suck out what they need when they need it.
Do any other areas have soil like this?
Well, it might surprise you, but actually the exact same geological seam of chalk runs all the way through the South Downs, pops up at the White Cliffs of Dover, and then disappears underground until it gets back into Champagne in northern France.
Are you kidding me? So the chalk that we're standing on now runs all the way to Champagne?
It does indeed, and that's exactly the same soil that they have there that we have here.
Once harvested, the grapes are pressed and yeast is added to the juice and left to ferment into still wine. Those wines are then blended together. Then more yeast and sugar are added, causing a second fermentation which produces carbon dioxide in the process, hence the bubbles.
How long have these been here? They're covered in dust.
Anything from 2 to 5 years.
Why are they in here for different amounts of time?
The real difference is how long you leave them sitting on the yeast that's in the bottle. Once it's done its job as fermentation, it just sits there and gently imparts its flavour up into the wine. And that's why champagnes and English sparkling wines that have been aged for a long time have a kind of yeasty character to them.
Once Emma has decided a particular wine has aged for long enough, she has to somehow get the yeast out of the bottle.
I don't understand how you can get a microscopic thing out of liquid.
Okay, so we put it into what we call the riddling machines, and they turn the bottle from horizontal to completely vertical. All the yeast ends up in the neck of the bottle here. So then we freeze the necks. Then you have a plug of yeast at the top, and all the yeast is frozen in that ice block.
But then how do you get the ice out?
You hear that noise now, that pop? Oh! That is the cap being taken off by this machine here.
Yes.
And the pressure in the bottle forces the yeast out, but the wine stays down in the bottle.
That is brilliant.
And of course, Emma's a master at doing it the old-fashioned way too.
Whoa! Where's the ice gone?
The ice is just down there.
Oh my God, where's it gone? Oh my God, look! Look! That's so clever. There's all the yeast that nobody wants in their drink.
Yep, and I have a lovely clear wine.
But it's exactly that, wine. Although we may share Champagne's soil, climate and production process, only drinks produced in the region can go by the world-famous name. This wine costs £29 a bottle.
Cheers.
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 So about the same price as a mid-range champagne.
That's very delicious. Tastes very like champagne. It's very clean, very crisp. When I think of champagne, you think very high-end, you think of celebration special. When I think of sparkling wine, I don't necessarily think premium.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
And it's something commercial director Gareth is all too aware of.
Is it hard to sell to people in this country?
Yeah, because we've always been one of the most important, if not the most important market for champagne, from importing it from France, it's quite hard to change people's opinion to a product that, you know, they may not have tried.
Last year, Britain imported more than 26 million bottles of champagne, but we're also producing 9 million bottles of homegrown sparkling wine and then exporting our fizz all over the world.
Which countries are really keen to get their hands on this?
Our biggest market is America, but we go to markets as diverse as, you know, Japan, Australia, Scandinavia. I mean, we even just shipped 2 pallets last week to Kazakhstan.
20 years ago, English sparkling wine production barely existed, and the fruit from these vineyards couldn't be sold as table grapes for eating. But by adding British manufacturing expertise, we've managed to create a thriving export industry.
How important is export to your business?
Export has been pivotal from day one. Actually, the exports now represents about 30% of our business, and I think you'll only see that develop in the next few years.
So it's booming?
Yes, very much so.
We've seen just some of Britain's export success stories: sparkling wine to America, potatoes to Ireland, apples to the Middle East. But we've also seen that because of our climate, our fruit and veg imports outweigh our exports. It's a little after 8 p.m, and at London Gateway, thousands of containers have hit our shores today. But there's far less demand for them for sending goods out.
So loads of the containers here come in full of fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
And what happens to them after?
A majority of the containers we export are empty.
Are they?
Do actually go out and there's nothing in them.
Of course, if we are a big net importer of fruit, veg, and manufactured goods, because we are a big services exporter, of course, there's bound to be loads of containers which come in full and go empty.
Yeah.
In fact, when a container ship leaves Britain's shores, on average, only half the containers will be full, meaning our biggest export is actually fresh air. It can cost £2,000 to send a single container 3 weeks by sea, so shipping empty ones around the world is expensive and inefficient. But logistics manager Charlotte is letting me in on a nifty solution.
That's a mini going into a container.
Correct, yeah.
So that arrives full of bananas or citrus fruits.
And it goes back out full of minis. It's a good way to utilise a container that otherwise wouldn't have had anything in it.
So how many can you get in? Can you get 2 minis in there?
Yeah.
It's approaching 9 p.m, but London Gateway and ports across the UK will continue to operate around the clock. By the end of the day, our fruit and veg imports will total more than £18 million, with 1.4 million worth being exported. It's been fascinating to see Britain's fruit and veg trade in action, and the armies of people around the world whose livelihoods depend on catering to our particular tastes.
Being here has highlighted how important logistics are to our economy. Buying and selling affordable products on such an extraordinary scale is only possible because we can move them in and out of our country fast and efficiently.
Brexit means our trading relationships with Europe and the world may be about to go through a period of unprecedented uncertainty and change, while our local producers will have to find even more innovative ways to compete in a world more interconnected than ever before. When I was a kid, the supermarket shelves looked nothing like they do now, and it's easy to take for granted just how much modern ports like London Gateway have revolutionised what we eat today.
The technology, the logistics, the sophistication produces something so simple: choice in our supermarkets every day.
Next time, Heathrow Airport, key to our trade in seafood.
Suitcases sitting down here with tons of Scotch salmon on ice.
We'll see how we export what we catch.
He is a mighty, mighty beast.
And how we rely on imports for the fish we eat.
We might have some fish.
Oh, stranded cod!
Wow!